And welcome to Spinny Saturday. Yes, a best bets show by the three-man weave. That's us. It's the last Saturday in February, and we could not be more excited about that because February sucks. As we said, it's the Monday of months. Shout out Garfield. And March is just around the corner. Next Saturday will be March, our favorite month of the year because, of course, the NCAA tournament is here. Plenty of intrigue today. Teams trying to play their way into the field. 131 game slate. Of course, Saturday's huge. No football on, to my knowledge, guys. So basketball, of course, is center stage. Takeaways before we get into the slate today, Matthew, from yesterday or the week. What'd you think?
Villanova?
Okay.
Hardest team to handicap in the last 3 years for me. I think at bottom five in my ROI ledger of all teams bet on or against. Man, when they're making threes, I guess that's true for anyone. When me, you, and Jim make threes, Kai, we're pretty tough to beat
Pretty
too at
good.
3-on-3.
Mhm.
But yeah, Nova was just insane. I've never seen a team that hot in the first half. Dominated Marquette. I don't know, is Marquette broken? I don't want to have that discussion, but the Villanova thing, I'm just officially ruling them out of my bet list. And just going to be one of the weirdest teams coming down the stretch. Tournament or not, I just don't know what this team is.
I didn't understand that, Matt, because Villanova at least hung around when or Marquette hung around a little when Villanova was 12 for 15 from three in the first half,
And then
80
they
freaking
extended more,
percent.
right?
And then they got worse in the second half. Yeah, it was bizarre. Michigan State's tough as nails,
Mhm.
man. They go to Michigan, kind of controlled the second half of that game. There's just so consistently so much skepticism about this team. But Kai, they're good. They're physical. They dominate the glass. Jace Richardson is a baller, and now he's in the starting lineup. I think their upside's higher. Sparty making the Big Ten race kind of wide open again now. Wisconsin and I guess even like Purdue and Maryland were happy with that result.
Agreed. Actually, Jim, Michigan being a fraud was my takeaway. Team's fraudulent. They're fraudulent. Haven't won by more than four in a month. You've said that. We've seen it. Yeah. You got to beat Michigan State in that situation. Yeah, Michigan. You're frauds. You're frauds. Do you even want Dusty May Matthew for Indiana? I'm just kidding around.
Extend Woodson.
Extend
Extend
Woodson. Why
Woodson.
not? Give him an extension for
Extend
life.
Woodson.
Okay, that's enough of that. Let's get into the actual games today. Talk some bets. Starting off in a banger of an SEC matchup, Tennessee at Texas A&M, a battle you could say, ugly. Total 130, 127 per Kempom. Matthew, who do you have in this boxing match?
Oh, wait, sorry. What was it? I didn't hear you cut out there for a second. Who are we talking about here? First game?
Tennessee, Texas
Tennessee,
A&M. First game
Tennessee,
on
Texas
first
A&M.
game on that line. God, I
Tennis.
love it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. Yeah, the total felt kind of low to me. Like I know it's two like rock fight type teams, but we talked about this on I feel like there's this Buzz Williams offensive jolt that's going to come down the stretch. We saw it last season. It kind of helped propel them. Now that was largely correlated with Manny Obaseki going gangbusters from three. But I do think that there's some upside in this A&M offense. Market seems to like A&M on the side, Jim, betting into -2.5. I actually kind of like the over. Uh, I think there's more than 130 points in this game. Now that probably comes with a 10-minute scoring drought from one of these teams, and I'll feel like an idiot. But I thought like this just total felt way too low to me.
Interesting. I kind of like the under just from the sense of these two teams. It's 5 points above the Ken Palm total right now, which feels a little high if you want to go bet the over, but clearly the market is interested in that. Yeah, you mentioned the big time line flip. Tennessee favored by 1.5 some openers, now all the way to Texas A&M -2.5. People loving the home SEC team, Kai. This is not the first time we've seen this in the market, but I saw this matchup and I just thought of the Chris Farley, like war on the shore. I want Holyfield. Like this is going to be a brawl in the paint. Like both these teams are just hyper physical, especially when they're at home. But I think Tennessee can match what A&M is bringing there. I actually lean against the steam, Kai. Lean towards Tennessee. Lean towards the under. Not going to bet this game though. This early tip, and these two teams just kind of spook me.
I agree. They have the right physicality, the defensive style, I think, to completely stymie A&M. I actually look back. Buzz is 3-4 against Tennessee, so not really as one side as I kind of expected since his tenure. Tennessee, number one defense in the country, completely take away the paint and the rim. They don't really foul, but they're only pretty good on the glass. That's always the concern. A&M, of course, they can get offensive boards against anybody. If Tennessee sags on defense, does Wade Taylor get a little shot happy, entice him to take even worse shots than he usually does? Of course, the whole rebounding thing is still there for Tennessee and A&M, but I think the Vols are just more polished offensively. I think A&M's going to hound them and try to make them uncomfortable, but I do lean Tennessee here on the side of 2.5. Seeing 3.5 now in the chat. Wow, is it really steaming that much for A&M?
Up
That
to
is
Caesars.
wow.
Caesars 3.5. Get your vol action in
Yeah,
there.
that's Tennessee for me. I mean, if the steam is literally home SEC, I don't really respect that move in the market, frankly. If it's something else, okay, maybe legitimate. We'll see. Another SEC battle, Kentucky and Alabama. This game is not a battle, not a slog. It's going to be high scoring. Game one, Jim, 199 points. It was a classic. It was a literal pro game. 24 threes, 45 made free throws. Crazy. Very evenly matched in that first contest. Will this one be evenly matched, though? Spread's 11. Alabama minus 11. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it feels pretty high, but then you think about like this game could have 80 possessions and the 11's going to feel like 5 with the amount of points that's going to happen here back and forth. Obviously, Robinson and Butler are a pretty big part of that movement. And the spot, I think, is you're getting a lot of home SEC team off 2 losses, 1 seed caliber Alabama, bringing Kentucky somewhat shorthanded, reliant on freshmen to town off a big monster second half performance against Vandy. I kind of see it, Matt. The number kind of made my eyes pop out of my head a little bit, like 11. Whoa! But then you think about the style of game, the situation. I kind of lean towards Alabama, but the fear is road revenge. Alabama already won at Rupp Arena. You get that bounce back with Kentucky going on the road potentially, but just a lot of factors kind of pushing both sides for the side
Yeah.
for me. I kind of lean towards the over though. I just there's going to be so many points. My only concern is if Kentucky can hit enough shots and create enough great shots without Butler and without Robinson.
Yeah, and I like what Pope said, right? We're a brand new team without Butler. So, I mean, the last 2 games is kind of how he's looking at the first I guess the first page of the next chapter of this season until Butler and those guys come back, Kai. So, I don't know, I give them like a C for their performance at Texas and probably a B plus against Vandy. I know they covered pretty easily against Vandy, but they were down early in that game. I just think they have they're just better than Vandy, right? Now they go to Bama, who is I don't know, is this spot really good? I thought the Bama spot was good against Mizzou, and it surely didn't show up on defense. I don't know. Very torn in this game. The more I looked at it, the more I kind of lean Kentucky as this rises. Maybe if it touches 12, I might be a counterpuncher. But I do think the lack of Butler is going to catch up. I've stuck by my whole point this year. This team needs more guards, and they're down 2 of their best. I can't trust that team on the road in a high-paced game.
I am very nervous about no Butler. I do like the 11 though. I think that's a lot. I do. Alabama's going to score pretty much at will, right? Kentucky's defense, 256th in transition points per possession allowed. Not good against Alabama, and we know Kentucky's been one of the worst SEC defenses. It has improved recently, at least. At least Kentucky's getting a little bit better on that end. It won't matter against Alabama; they'll score. I just think Kentucky can carve up Alabama too. Like it's going to be 180 points. It's going to be 190 points. I still lean them with 11, even though Butler's out. Scary bet. Scary bet either way when you don't have your best ball handler against such a high octane offense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
goes
mind
without
what
saying.
AJ
I'll
said
go,
in the chat with the Bama team total over. I don't mind that because
Yeah.
like who's Kentucky stopped, and if you factor in the pace, like it could be a name your number, and then I don't have to worry about Kentucky's freshmen having to score. But that's one way of looking at it. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, to your point, Kai, it's a big number, but on 180 total, it's you know what I mean that does matter, right? This isn't a 120 total, so it can go from 3 to 12 in the blink of an eye.
Agreed. Okay, moving on. A neutral non-con game? Huh? In February? Huh? That's right. Illinois and Duke in Madison Square Garden. What a moment for Matt's Dukies. Illinois is the best team Duke has faced since December 4th when they beat Auburn. Will that shift in opponent, Matt, pop Duke in the mouth to start the game, make him nervous? Of course, Duke is also the best team Illinois will play all season, and the Illini have been struggling. No more S. Johnson. That really hurts against the biggest team in the country. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so Malik Brown's injury, I think, is also worth noting here. He would be a pretty useful defender in this matchup. Just his switchability and kind of, this Illinois can spread you out and get you scattered, and having his recoverability in the back end and how just kind of matrix he is. They'll miss him. The Illinois thing, Jim, sort of Kentucky. It feels like a talented but brittle team with their injuries, and I think illnesses has been a big part of why they had some guys in and out. They've lost that continuity from the super Nova mojo they had to start the year. I'm kind of with Kai, though, to his Kentucky point. I like Illinois. I know it feels a little scary, but I think it's just too many points. I'm sort of back in on the Illinois. I'm actually the only person left on the Illinois bandwagon after all their fans have abandoned this team, given the recent skid. But I like the line. I keep it close today.
They're
close-ish.
supposedly healthy with the illness stuff. That's like what I've heard. So that matters a little bit. I mean, they didn't even shake Wisconsin's hands after the game as part of it, like, oh, we don't want to give it to the Badgers, which
Ridiculous.
it's silly. You breathed on them for 40 minutes. They're going to get it if they're going to get it. I like the over, Matthew. Kind of the coaches take the reins off a little bit in a non-conference game at this point. Big environment. We saw early in the year these Madison Square Garden games like went way over. I remember the Michigan Arkansas game had like 180 points almost. I
Do
think
you
we
like
see a
it
ping
now though?
pong.
157 open
Yeah, it's
153.
been ticking up. It's been ticking up. I wrote it for Action Network when it was 154 and a half. 156, I think it opened at circa. I would take it too. I wrote, I think like 157 was my limit. But you take out Brown and Johnson, that's two bigger players and defenders, a lot more 5 out spacing type stuff. Combined with the pace, I think we're going to see the over makes sense to me. And sneakily, Duke's offense has been better than its defense lately. Like they're scoring at will against ACC teams. I think they can find ways to score here against Illinois, lacking interior presence other than Ivasic. So lean towards the over. Kind of lean to Duke on the side, but your points, both of yours are well taken. So not going to bet it.
Yeah,
Jim,
spread.
to the yeah, Isaiah Evans minutes are key here, right? Like 22 last game, he comes in and he just fires and he gets red hot. Him and Khan just like Duke can go, they can put 20 up in a hurry. So you're talking into the over. Sorry, Kai, go ahead.
I'm saying Duke's just so insane on both ends. I'm concerned how Illinois scores though. It's a lot of KJ hero ball. It seems the Devils have the mobility to stick with Ivisic on the perimeter and those rolls. Duke's one of the best ball screen defenses in the country per synergy. That's the crux of Illinois' offense. It's pick and roll. It's a lot of KJ. On defense, I think Illinois actually can match up a little bit. They're bigger on the perimeter than most teams Duke has faced, but Cooper Flag is impossible cover for anybody in Illinois. Trey White, I'm guessing. I don't even know who you'd put on him. I can see two worlds here. Duke blows him out, or Illinois punches him in the mouth early and hangs around until Duke kind of pulls away at the end. I kind of lean the latter, and I lean towards the Illini, hanging around within 9 at the end of the game. Okay, last game before our first chat mob section. Iowa State at Houston.
It with the chat.
Chopping it up with the chat mob. Iowa State at Houston. Hey, I thought 8 or 9 was going to be way too high for this game at the KenPom line, but then, of course, it was announced that I believe Curtis Jones is out. Gilbert questionable, if I have that right in my head. Spread balloon to 12, Matthew. I tell you what, this Clones team can still defend and hang, but what do you think? You always hate Houston.
I don't hate Houston. I don't like it's been my brand.
You hate Houston.
Love Kellen Sampson. The injuries, Kai, I think that's what everyone is clearly betting into here. It's up to 12. Okay, I think there's like 4 or 5 of these spots where you have really good teams with really big injuries, and they're getting big numbers against awesome teams. I guess that's sort of the prototype here. I still like 11.5, 12. That's just a massive number for like a team that's I think still deep enough. And I think can make this an ugly game. And Houston's offense, Jim, I think that's sort of do you trust it to extend? Sometimes they don't need to because they hold teams to 45-40, but Iowa State can still score enough, I think, to keep this competitive. I'm curious what the pace looks like in this one. I know Iowa State's obviously kind of opened up their offense this year, but I think this is a game where they kind of go back to the old odds, especially without Cujo when they're making threes from NBA range. I don't know. That would be my advice.
They've got one ball handler against Houston. I would not I do not think it's smart to pick the pace up. Under's been bet down, open 133, circa down to 130. That's exactly what I was thinking on this game, even more so than betting the Houston side. So they've kind of gobbled up the value, but still lean that way towards the under. I think Iowa State's going to really, really struggle to score. Iowa State does have the bigs, I think, to battle a little bit on the defensive glass. So it's not going to be like a Houston feast inside, which we saw against Baylor and a little bit against Arizona State with Quaintance banged up. But stay away from me, just given what the market has already done to the price.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The turnovers are a concern for Iowa State, of course, with just one guard. Yeah, so Jones and Gilbert out. That's clearly huge. Yep. The under is the correct play. It's been beaten down. Honestly, 130 might not even be enough. I can see it go lower. Can the Cougs score enough? Because I still think Iowa State, their defense is still going to be fine without those two guys. And they're going to make this scrappy. I totally agree. Altenberger is going to be wanting to slow this tempo down. 12 is a pretty big spread. I would lean towards Iowa State at 12, honestly. Would lay, of course, 8 with Houston in this situation, but 12 is a little bit too high. Again, lean towards the under, even at 130.
You know what,
Live betting
Kai?
angle for this game. Josh Jefferson, foul trouble, Houston. I think he's like absolutely
Yeah,
critical
if
in
he
this
gets in
game.
foul trouble, they're totally dead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the under as a best bet.
Oh, okay.
130.
Hey,
I know it's already lower, and I'm not getting a super great bargain, but I just don't see how this game gets up and down, or either team scores a ton without those guards. So unless Houston is like supernova lava on fire from deep.
Emmanuel
So
Sharp always scares me.
one of my best bets.
Always
Yeah,
scares me.
all right,
under
love it,
130 in
Jim.
this game.
And Jim, hey, you're the chat mob. Before we get to the chat section, of course, we do want to plug the Burner Discord. That is where you can find our daily best bets. Not a show, but we do give out our best bets for the day. We talk about betting all day long in that channel. We also talk about just college basketball in general in other channels. And of course, the Burner Discord as a whole has plenty of communities for all schools, all different types of conversations you want to have relating to college basketball or even just general stuff. It really is a fantastic community. We highly encourage you to sign up and join, especially for March, right around the corner. The link to the sign up is in the the YouTube description down below. $6 a month, great value, especially as we get into March. So do check it out. Join us. Have some fun.
Carousel.
Talk to us
Carousel
every day.
season,
Coaching
baby.
carousel transfer
season.
portal. Truly's got all the inside scoops, so do check it out, please.
Round and round we go.
Okay, Jim, chat mob, here we go.
I will start going to Matt here, but I do have a best bet on this game. Joey Stephen and a couple other people asking about George Mason at Virginia Commonwealth, the biggest game in the A10 this season, basically for the crown, given the tiebreaker implications since they only play once. Spread is around 10.5, 11, Matthew. What do you think?
Yeah, Jim, best bet. Are we gonna go jump in together? Do you want to run off the deep end with me?
Which side are you on?
Are you're Mason, right? You're not taking
Yeah.
VCU here.
Yeah, Mason
Good.
plus 11. Yeah.
Mason, okay, VCU's also been home. I know this is a stubborn play because every time you bet against VCU at home, they just laugh at you. But Mason is like the ultimate cockroach team. Had a week off to prep for this game. I know they've been playing with fire. They won a lot of close games, but they don't need to win this by 14. They need to keep it close. Their defense is built to do that. Maybe you get a good KD Johnson game where he makes crazy shots from like 25 feet. That would be nice because I do think offensively Mason does worry me against this matchup. Jim, best bet, Mason, plus 10.5. I thought it'd go down. I'm shocked
11 and circa.
VCU took money,
Yeah,
but
yeah, we're
again, I
taking
think
11,
VCU has been
Matthew.
so good at home, it sort of justifies it.
We're taking the 11, Matthew.
Good. I like the extra. Hopefully we need it or don't need
But
it.
yeah, same thoughts. Slugfest type of game, slow it down. Defense is really hard to score at the rim. VCU is going to have to be really hot from deep to cover that number, I think. And the stakes of the game also, I think, slow the pace a little bit, value possessions a little more, which helps the dog. So plus 11, best bet for me as well. Okay, Kai, you get a way less important game. Georgia Tech at Boston College in the ACC. Georgia Tech, a narrow road
Love it.
favorite, -1.5. Boy, I did not spend a lot of time on the garbage ACC games. I will acknowledge that.
No, neither did I, Jim. The first thing that comes to mind in this one is we know Georgia Tech tends to play up against these ACC competition weirdly well, and they tend to play down to the worst competition. And hey, BC, to their credit, they've been really scrappy. Earl Grant's doing the best job he can with this roster. They just smoked Virginia Tech. Having said that, I do lean towards Georgia Tech. Talent is way better on the Yellow Jackets. Lean towards them if anything. But yeah, I didn't bet this game either.
Okay,
Too many
next
injuries.
one, Matthew, also in the ACC. Joey's last question. We might have had another one. I think he asked about SMU Clemson, but that's on the outline. Pitt at Notre Dame, two teams that are playing unbelievably garbage basketball right now, circling the drain, maybe outside the top 150 in the past couple of weeks. Any thoughts, Matthew?
No, you're right. I sort of trusted this Pitt team, but I can't anymore. But God, Notre Dame, who the hell is Notre Dame right now? Like Micah Shrewsbury is starting to hear some hot seat chirps, Kai, which is again insane.
I
But
don't
I feel
think
like
that's
it's
even true. He's making that up.
sorry. I think maybe I on Twitter I looked up Micah Shrewsbury and saw one person with an egg, Avi, post about that. So the hot seat rumors have officially been launched. There it is.
Yeah, it's a second year. Come on.
Kai, in the Big Sky at Northern Arizona, Flagstaff, Eastern Washington heading to town. I believe Eastern Washington just got absolutely pummeled by Northern Colorado, so
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of a bounce back. But what do you think? Remember Flagstaff elevation, big old
Yeah,
elevation.
I think Flagstaff's a tough place to play in football and basketball. Ewash is not the same team we saw in the non-con. The team that we were impressed with when they played against Mizzou and hung with some bigger competition, they've really been bad in Big Sky play. I'd lean towards NAU here.
Okay. Matt, we talked a little that neither of us, or really none of us, like got into the Big South this morning. But High Point -9 at Gardner Webb. We have a couple people asking about that game. High Point seems to be hitting their stride. They're playing awesome lately, and they backed up the big win against Longwood with another blowout win. I don't really want to get in their way right now.
Yeah, it does feel pretty high though. I mean, I know Gardner Webb's not been great, but God, I feel like that's just a big number. I guess Gardner Webb did lose to it was a 40-point game in the first meeting. Not exactly a great omen here for the revenge. I like Gardner Webb. Nine's too many. I'm sorry. I'm with the running Bulldogs. The running apostrophe Bulldogs.
All right, all right. The last two games, High Point's won by 45 combined. I mean, they're cooking. Kai in the A10, St. Bonaventure -6.5 against Duquesne. Man, two teams also that are struggling. Bonnie's definitely more injury related, but should be kind of a slog of a game.
I guess I lean Duquesne, Jim, a team that I was high on. They sucked, got low on. They were good all of a sudden. I think they're kind of a tough team to blow out, and the Bonnies haven't looked great lately.
They are.
So lean
I
towards
agree.
Duquesne. Yeah.
Matthew, back to the ACC from Space Ace. Virginia Tech, who just scored 36 points in a game at BC. Just awful, awful basketball. They head to Miami, Florida, who I thought was the simulate the rest of the season team, but now it's like half the ACC just wants to get to the finish line. Any thoughts on this game? Miami, a 2-point home favorite.
I kind of like the Canes. I've actually backed the Canes a couple times the last few weeks. Although I did get lucky because Chucky Hepburn missed the Louisville game. Hepburn's obviously monstrously important. Who knows what that game looks like if he plays. I still like Miami. I'm not going to officially bet this because I'm not betting on a team that we think could be like in simulation mode, laying points. Just not going to do it.
Okay, to you, Kai, for the SEC, Ole Miss at Vandy, sitting at a pick 'em right now. Vandy's been pretty feisty at home. They need the big wins to really feel good about their tournament chances. Ole Miss, not playing as great lately.
Yeah, not a whole lot of steam for this one, like we usually see with the SEC home teams. So people not buying Vanderbilt as much. I do always kind of lean towards Vanderbilt at home. I think they're almost just as good as Ole Miss, which I guess the spread would indicate. Pick makes sense to me. No play for me. If you made me choose a side, lean towards Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Vanderbilt lean for me as well there. I think they get the big win they need. Matt from Toma, 8888. Florida State at Louisville. You are my ACC correspondent, so you continue to
Yeah.
get peppered with questions. You mentioned Chucky Hepburn. He is back. Florida State not been good lately. Does Louisville boat race them?
Of course, they've been okay. Yeah, Louisville's been boat racing the bad teams in this conference. I kind of lean Louisville today. Florida State's kind of had a moment where it's like, oh, okay, they're back, but I still worry they could be again, I always say turn into a pumpkin with the coach sort of on the retirement uh, walkway. So I don't know. Stay away from me though.
Kai, to the Mountain West, a big one for NCAA tournament implications. Utah State -6 at home against the Aztecas, San Diego State. Question from Brand. Anything for you?
Took 4.5 last night, Jim. Utah State. Really, that was basically because I knew this game was going to move. Maybe not a great philosophy there. I have a good number, sure, but I think San Diego State can hang around. At 6, I'd probably lean towards the Aztecs.
Yeah, I do too. I like the Aztecs at 6.
Yeah, I like the Aztecs playing up. I think they are better at that this year than as the big home favorite, although they did just absolutely eviscerate Fresno State,
Poor
much to Matt
Fresno.
and I's
Yeah.
chagrin. Yes.
Hey, program. If you have money, please donate to Fresno. I think they're taking donations. Apparently, trying to raise some money to save the ship. So if you're a big Bulldog fan, like I know we all are here, Kai, make sure to donate.
Oh, yeah.
They could use it.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, Matt Towson at Campbell in the Colonial. Campbell's been kind of coming back down to earth after a supernova start to league play. Towson coming off a loss atop the league. I kind of like the Tigers bounce back on the road. What do you think?
I do too. I think they missed Sinani. I think he was like their second, maybe best player. And not like Campbell's very deep this year, but they're not overflowing with like big time playmaking talent. He was one of the two guys I think they had. I like Towson too in the spot show. I think physically, this is like a men versus boys situation.
All right, let's go two more before we get back to the outline. Kai, early tip coming up in just over a half hour. Oregon at Wisconsin. The Badgers have been phenomenal lately, a total fireball. Oregon's kind of feisty though as an underdog. I sort of think the Ducks hang around. What do you think?
Yeah, sorry, I just had a water down the wrong side of my throat, Jim.
Whoops.
I lean Oregon 8.5. I think current form would probably tell you the Badgers take this one, but yeah, I'm always more inclined to bet the Ducks when they're a big-ish underdog versus laying points. I lean towards Oregon here.
And Matthew, I know you want it. One more ACC question.
Good.
Virginia heading on the road to UNC. I think this number's high, so leading the
Yeah,
witness
I do
here,
too.
but 9.5 against the Heels, who have not been overly convincing, other than last time out against NC State.
I remember during the latter Tony Bennett era, UNC was actually kind of had UVA's number. I don't know if this team applies, and I think Virginia was actually sort of playing better before they played Duke, and no one looks good against Duke. I think it's high. I'm with you. I kind of like 9 here.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the outline, Kai. We've got another 15 questions. Don't worry, folks. I have got them written down. I'm sure we'll get more, but we'll finish up the outline before we get to them.
Alrighty, Jim. Let's go back to the outline with Mizzou, Arkansas. Oh, baby. Jim, we get to talk about our beloved Missouri Tigers. They're actually good this year. Yes, Arkansas needs this game badly for the tournament. Should be a packed house, one of the best home courts in the country at Bud Walton. Matt, Mizzou is special. They're categorically better, in my opinion. But I have a little bit of concern that they might be reading their press clippings. The media attention swirling the Tigers right now is
Yep.
high. There have been multiple articles, multiple podcast appearances from
It's gone too
Gates,
far, you say.
Grill on
It's gone too
ESPN.
far.
I'm just
I
kind of
wouldn't.
worried that it might go to our heads. I trust the boys, but we'll see. Who do you like in this game as an objective
Yeah.
observer?
You worry that Caleb Grill's been on Twitter a little too much. Yeah, I actually kind of like Mizzou here. I know this is like if you love spots, you're betting Arkansas. I just don't think Arkansas has proven enough to me in these big spots. Like the Alabama game, they covered on some bogus, like late garbage comeback, I would say. And I do think the Mizzou matchup, Kai, as you mentioned pre-show, is sort of a kryptonite for Arkansas, Jim. But Arkansas's defense, as you mentioned, is improving. The spot's really juicy. I did not bet it, but I have a pretty hard lean to Mizzou.
First matchup, like, oh, Mizzou emphatic blowout, but it was kind of a shooting splits game. Mizzou 48% from three, Arkansas 22%. Boogie Fland was pretty bad shooting the ball, but Matt, he was 6 assists, 0 turnovers. I worried the Mizzou ball pressure could affect Arkansas trying to get into their offense. I don't trust DJ Wagner as the setup man, and Nelly's a little bit more scoring mode at this point, taking over that key scoring role with Fland out of the game. Mizzou feels a little. This is probably blasphemous to say, Kai, but a little bit immune to spots because
Yeah.
they're mature. They've got a bunch of fifth-year guys that are leading the way. It's a little like Clemson off the big Duke win, turned around and took care of UNC, and took care of Florida State, a veteran team. I kind of feel like Mizzou has that same thing going, but I
Yeah,
am a little
I
bit
agree.
of spooked. Arkansas and Fayetteville, desperate for NCAA tournament wins. So. Not going to bet it. If I had to, it would be the Tigers.
Yeah, Jim, game one against Mizzou was Flan's last game. Arkansas fell to 0-5 in the SEC after that. Then they're 4-5 since then. We know Nelly Davis has taken a bigger role. Arkansas has gotten better. I just think Mizzou shuts down what Arkansas wants to do in transition, the versatility. I think they're slowly going to wear down Arkansas with their depth. Arkansas also is one of the most zoned teams in the country. That's because they can't shoot, and they're really bad against zones. And Gates is not afraid to change up his defenses, throw in weird zones. That's going to really bother Arkansas, in my opinion. So I do lean towards Mizzou. I did not bet it for emotional reasons, but I do lean their way here at the small spread, 1 or 2, whatever it is right now.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers, indeed. Hey, speaking of Tigers, how about these Tigers, Jim? Clemson Tigers are going at SMU in Dallas. If SMU wants to make the dance, it has to win this game. They have 0 wins against the top 50 KenPom. They have 2 wins against the top 80. They have 4 of their 20 wins against top 100 KenPom teams. This team's a paper tiger. Clemson rocks, super balanced. What do you think?
Yeah, I think SMU is a bully bad teams type of squad, have been all year. And as we just talked about with Clemson, somewhat immune to spots. I don't think there's any letdown for them. Matt, we mentioned with George Mason the whole week to prepare. I think that matters at this point in the year. Clemson just had the whole week off. This game is to stay right on the heels of Duke, and it matters because Clemson holds the tiebreak. So they're just waiting for Duke to potentially drop one in their final 4 games in the ACC, and they get the 1 seed in the ACC tournament. I definitely lean towards Clemson here. I know Boopy Miller's probably returning. That's the word on the street, but I don't know if he's going to be 100%, and I think he matters a lot for this team given their other point guard situation. So I actually lean towards Clemson, Matthew.
Yeah, I do too, especially if no Boopy. I mean, I think SMU needs to get up into Clemson. I mean, Clemson's been really good at leaning on their size and strength, especially like that when they go that three big quasi lineup, and they haven't been harassed or pressured that much. And I think SMU, if they want to have success, they have to do that in some way. They have to like use the speed and make Clemson pay for leaning on that size. But Clemson's been again, they're an older team. Kai, we talked about this, so.
Mhm.
While they don't have like dynamic, crazy, great guards, they are like smart guards and reliable, and they execute their stuff. It's Brad Brownell. He's discounted every year, as he has been again this season pretty emphatically. I like Clemson here. This is kind of a keep it simple, stupid, kind of square bet, but squares win too. So yeah,
Eh,
I like Clemson. I'm with
I
you.
don't know. I'd actually say the square bet's probably betting SMU in this in this case. It's the
Yeah,
spot
I think
is all
SMU very
Yeah,
popular
maybe.
spot
SMU's all
spot
spot
crowd.
right here. People know they need it. Square plays are very over categorized, I think, or over characterized, excuse me, in college basketball.
Squares are misunderstood, Kai. They're misunderstood.
I mean, it's not the NFL. You need Boopy in this game, I think, if you're SMU. You guys said it. I think him and Chucky need to be not erratic and handle the ball against Clemson's ball pressure. SMU's really dominated the glass and ACC play with the emergence of Yigituglu, Matt's dude, Samet, his first name, I think.
Submit.
And while
I don't know.
Clemson has Chef and Lock-in, they can get a little sellout with their defense, trying to block shots. That rebounding angle is open for SMU. However, again, the track record of SMU just being horrible against good teams and blowing out the bad teams, despite the spot, I lean towards Clemson. It's actually two veteran teams. SMU's pretty old too, but I lean towards Clemson here, Jim. Top 25 in both ends. Just a really solid team. Okay, St. Mary's and Gonzaga. Yes, the rematch here, fellas. The Zags are in a bit of uncomfortable danger zone, floating close-ish to the bubble, despite ranking 10th in KenPom. A win here probably seals their fate in terms of being in the dance. But the Gales are flat out good, Jim. They're 1 point away from being unbeaten in the WCC, and they took down Gonzaga in game one, despite shooting 40% from two and 50% from the free throw line. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm not going to bet Gonzaga to like blow them out. I'm not going to bet a -6.5. Not going to lay three possessions with them. I think Gonzaga wins. I think they get the revenge as they did at the end of last year after they lost at home initially to St. Mary's. They then went to Moraga and got the win by 13. So lean towards Gonzaga on the side. Matt, what I am going to do is make the under 142 a best bet. Five straight have gone under between these
Yeah,
two.
this
Eight of the
always goes
last
under. Good
11.
call. God.
St. Mary's really controls the tempo. Bennett is just a wizard in getting Gonzaga to slow the game down and not be able to play in transition. So I'm going to go to that well with the data, with my lean, and just looking at the two teams. Really strong defensive scheme for St. Mary's. So under 142, best bet for me, Mateo.
I love it. Kai, I'm sort of I guess this is a square or a sharp play now. Again, not that we care, but I do like St. Mary's here. I know this is like if this is Gonzaga's game. This is you get an A+ effort here. They should win, I think, by 8 to 10. But with the pace control that Bennett, as Jim mentioned, has sort of dictated like every time they play the last three seasons, and you have a point guard in Goose who's done that. I think he's been in this game for three or four matches. So I mean, he understands that's part of it. Saxon's a great interior defender. I think Morauskas is the key. If he can find some separation against those the Gonzaga fours, I think that's the matchup that the that Bennett should look to exploit. But
Anton
no
Watson ain't
official
walking
action
through
for
that
me.
door. That's
Sure.
defensively.
I do love the EK Saxon battle. Very intriguing. I left out a stat in that first game. The Zags were 3 for 17 from deep. There was certainly some bad 3-point shooting in that game. They lost by 4. I don't see that happening again, frankly. I think the Zags extend and take this one by 7 or 8, like Matt said. They're the more talented team. They're very well aware they need to win this game. And hey, I understand they're an 8 or 9 seed right now. This team is title caliber, Final Four caliber. I think they
It's the
get this
same
done.
same as last year when
Yeah,
like in February people are like, are they on the bubble? And then they ripped off three Q1 wins and they're like, oh, the resume looks good now and their predictive metrics are elite. Let's put them a 5 seed.
right.
And they deserved it.
I totally agree. And hey, we'll see if it happens again. How about our last game before Chat Mob round 2 and then best bets, of course? BYU at Arizona, heading back to the Big 12. BYU is humming right now, Jim, trending up back to its preseason rank. They've had some pop on the road. They won at West Virginia. They won at UCF, Colorado, but they also got blown out to Providence and Houston and Cincinnati. Who do you like in this game? Arizona's laying, I think, 7 or 8 against the BYU Cougars.
Number's a little steep, but I lean Arizona. I think BYU's a little, they're going to suddenly run into a team that gives a crap because they just played Kansas, who didn't, and just assumed the position for 35 minutes, basically. So I like Arizona. Get a little bit of a sell high on BYU, and I still don't buy the road stuff. I know they beat BYU or West Virginia on the road. That was not bad travel. They were already west to east, and West Virginia isn't like some superpower. They got some big wins in the non-con, and they've just kind of floated along in Big 12 play. So Matt, I know Arizona had the big road win, so you know there's certainly no buy low with the Wildcats, but
Yep.
I think they can handle the paint battle. I like that they started Henry Vasar for the first time last game. He's going to be important to battle Traore and Keita in the paint. I like Arizona to kind of extend that one. They're still smarting from that last home game to Houston, which they kind of, I wouldn't say gave away, but they had it controlled for most of it.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona has not played a bad basketball game since like mid-January. I mean, they really haven't. I mean, even the K-State game, right? They got K-State when K-State went to juggernaut status there for a little bit. I like Arizona as well. It's a little too steep. I'll just echo the same thing Jim said. I'll just say it more eloquently. But I do like the same blueprint that they used against Baylor, who's kind of gone four out because they have no bigs anymore. BYU is very perimeter oriented, four outy, and they're going to try and do like the small versus your big, big versus your small. But I think Lloyd liked what he saw in that Baylor thing. As Jim mentioned, their emergence of VSAR. I think that just keep doing that today. That will work against BYU. You worry about BYU, maybe you space them out a little bit, but I think at home, you can. I think Lloyd wins the tug of war in terms of how this game's played in the matchup battle.
Yeah, hey, these teams played once before. BYU gave them the game for most of the game. It was close until like the final stretch. Foul shooting killed BYU, and they couldn't stop Arizona. 1.18 points per possession. It's frankly hard to see how BYU stops them again. They don't have any rim protection, and Arizona is just far more athletic. But BYU can shoot. That's the great equalizer. They're the number one three-point attempt rate team in the conference, number 3 3-point percentage. That's what they need to do to hang. They need to hit shots. For me, it's a toss-up on the spread. I think it's just about right. So I'll defer to you guys, your Arizona leans. I trust my weave, brethren.
Okay, you're right. Arizona pulled away late in that game. I just think like their physicality and I think general eight experience will the final 10 minutes that starts to play out.
I agree, Matthew. Okay, Jim, let's go back to the chat mob. And once again, hey, join the Burner Discord, guys. Check out the link in the description to the video. Talking bets every single day in there. Check it out. Trilly Donovan, great dude. Knows a lot about college basketball. Inside stuff. Okay, chat mob part 2, Jim.
All right, we got about 30 games, so let's fly through these. Presbyterian Radford, Corp 1024 asking about the under. Quite honestly, don't have a super strong take on that. Just looking at the game, it feels a little more like an under to me. I won't even ship this question to either of you two guys.
Thank you.
Presbyterian, much more of an under squad. Farrell's kind of been a slow down defensive guy in most of his seasons. So lean that way. Market has kind of gone up a little, like up to 135.5 at circa. So maybe a little bit of a spook there, but that's just probably one person betting given the way these games get bet. Kai, to the Summit League, big rivalry in North Dakota. Question from Nash 2. NDSU -4 at North Dakota. Any thoughts for you on that game?
You know what, Jim? I lean towards North Dakota, the home team. The scary thing is, fading North Dakota State is like playing Russian roulette because this team is so talented and can get so freaking hot, but they're like a normal team in Summit play. We saw them in the non-con. North Dakota State can beat anybody by 20. I stayed away. I lean towards North Dakota, but no thanks. Not getting involved.
It's a good spot for North Dakota.
Yeah, agreed. Matt, to the West Coast Conference, where your boy, Shanty Leggins, is on the road at Pacific, getting 3 points. Andy Baseball wonders if the wrongs team is favored here. What do you think?
I had the same thought, and this is from a guy who's bet on Pacific probably a little too much than he cared to admit this season. But Jim, our boy Maxie McKinnon and a healthier backcourt has sort of fueled a pretty impressive pilot. I think they've covered 5 in a row. I like the Pilots here. I'm with them. So yeah, I almost made it a bet best actually. So, but +3, I like it.
Kai, to the Coastal, Charleston at Drexel. Charleston actually played a good game against Northeastern most recently. They've got both their guards healthy with Tavares and Smith. -1.5. Charleston, a road favorite at the Dragons.
I guess I lean towards Charleston, Jim. Drexel's, again, one of those teams that I have trouble fading. I fade them a lot, and they're scrappier than you think. Lean towards Charleston ever so slightly, but nothing strong.
Matt, in the America East, Maine, -3.5 at Binghamton. It's a question from Nicholas Sheeran. He had a couple, I believe. Maine, they've just been categorically better, but Binghamton started to be a little feistier lately. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I like Binghamton here actually. I was high on this team last year. I was high on them this year. They've been very streaky. But I kind of like the spot and actually like both them and UMass Lowell today. So two dogs, sort of two underachieving, fairly talented America East dogs, I guess is the theme to both those bets.
Okay, Kai to the Sun Belt. Appalachian State -4 at home against Marshall. Gray pointing out this is Marshall's third straight road game. Do they lose a little bit in the legs here at the Mountaineers?
Yeah, I kind of like the Mountaineers here. App State been lower on Marshall all season, perhaps incorrectly. App State's been playing a lot better in conference play from a disastrous non-con. Lean towards App State at 4.
I like App State.
Matthew in the Big Ten, Penn State headed to Minnesota. I believe this is a rather huge game for making the Big Ten tournament, as both these teams are in a fight to get in there, make the top 15. Minnesota -3 at home at the barn, basically telling you these teams are close to equal, maybe a little bit Penn State better. What do you think?
I was very enthused to see Minnesota as a short favorite who just played really well on the West Coast, but they come back and Penn State just feels like they play well today. I have no other rationale behind it. I was going to Minnesota. I thought about it. I stayed away, even though they've not been great without Puff Johnson. They really just have not been the same team since he went out.
I lean towards Penn State too, man. I'm
Did
close
you?
to betting it. I'm leaning towards it. Yeah.
Penn State just hyper smashed Nebraska
They're
on
not
Wednesday.
this bad. They're not this bad.
I agree. No, I totally agree. I think Rhodes has done pretty. I mean, injuries, if they stayed healthy, they could have been a respectable Big Ten team, but just no margin for error in the conference.
Delord McD asked about Wagner. Said he got him as a dog. Kai, I saw you answer something about this early. They're now -2.5 against Chicago State. Sort of lean that way. Super low total game, as every Wagner game is. They're a slow, sloggy team, but I do not like this Chicago State team, so lean to Wagner.
Yeah, I was responding to question. He said, "Is it a square play? Not if you got +1.5 and it's -2.5. No, that would.
Yeah, you're a sharp. You're in the sharp community.
So no,
Welcome
you have
to
a
the
good
club.
number. Yeah, if it loses, hey, you lost, but you made the right play.
Yeah, got some value. Adrian Wiley, Matthew, asking about FIU. It's kind of your boys, Panthers. You've ridden them a couple times this
Down
year.
with them.
They are headed to Liberty. Liberty laying 14.5. The Flames now tied in loss column for lead in the CUSA.
Yeah, FIU money, I don't get it, frankly. I know FIU has been off correct, so they're not like making this crazy trip on a short term run. So they actually had a little time off. But I think Liberty's cruising. This is the best team in this conference, despite all the other parity that exists below them. I think they're going to go on a little streak to close out the year, and I think kind of roll that through the conference tournament. So I like Liberty. 13, Market disagrees, but I like 13.
Okay, Kai, in the Big Ten, another battle for making the Big Ten tournament. From question from Bram. Washington at Iowa. Hawkeyes laying 6.5 at Carver Hawkeye. This is a west to east game for Washington, which can spook me a little bit. What do you think?
Kind of why I stayed off it at 6.5 in a vacuum. I think it's a big spread. Iowa, what have they done to deserve being this big of a favorite against anybody in the Big Ten? And Washington has proven to be a little bit feisty as a dog, which they are every single game. But the West East travel, no thanks. I'm not getting involved. Lean Washington, nothing for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Just I like the number for Washington, didn't like the spot. Maddie in the MAC, and you are Maddie Mac. The Zips, Akron, the crown or the best team in this league, -2.5 at Ohio. Are you going to go with the home dog here?
If it gets to like 4, so it's up to 3. At 2.5 mostly, I should say. A couple of 3s out there. If it gets to 4, I'll probably take Ohio because I love Fade and Akron. And honestly, Akron's been awesome, but they've not been invincible against the spread. Look like their last 10. Kai, I'm looking at you by the way. I know you're a big Akron defender. I like Ohio. They're not healthy, but I do think this is it feels like their game at home.
I
Should be
lean
a
your way,
great,
Matthew.
great crowd.
I lean your way.
Thank you.
All right, Kai, in the Battle of the Bay, I think I forget it's just the game or the big game in football. Cal at Stanford, two close rivals there. The Mark Madsen game, I guess we can call it, with him on one side and having graduated from the other. Stanford -6 at home. Any thoughts?
Opened a lot lower than I thought, Jim. I thought it would be like 8 instead of 6.5. So that surprised me. I was ready to take Cal at a high number, but not at 6.5. I think Stanford's better. It's priced appropriately. Obviously, not much travel, not much home here, but I thought it was too low. 8, I was ready to bet. No thanks on 6.
Okay. All right. UNC Asheville and Longwood. Question from Helms. I can take this one. I do like the bounce back for Asheville. I mean, they got embarrassed. They got pantsed on the road at Radford. I think you get a much, much better effort from them. I don't love betting against Griff Aldrich. I think he's a fantastic coach, but you got a little bit of the buy low, sell high, along with just had a pretty good performance against Gardner Webb. Haven't been full strength for a little bit now, really lacking in bodies off the bench. So lean towards Asheville. Matt, in the Mountain West, question from Adrian Wiley. Colorado State -3 at UNLV. No DJ Thomas?
Yeah.
Question mark for the Rebels. That's a problem. What do you think?
Big problem. They're going to go big, big bully ball, I would assume. Colorado State, not the biggest team, but I lean toward the Rams. It's sort of an obvious you're fading against the DJ Thomas thing, but I do think it's still short, even though it feels like a trap.
Actually, you know what? We'll go back to Matt. He's the one saying UC San Diego is better than Wofford 2019. So UC San Diego hosting Hawaii. Matt, you've got the banner or the pennant right above your head there. Are the Tritons going to cover the 15.5, 16-point spread?
Yeah, they cover every game. Why wouldn't they cover? I actually liked Hawaii, and then I said, nope, pass.
Yeah, I mean, they're rolling. They're blowing everybody out right now, exceeding analytical expectations to continue climbing KenPom. Not
I think Cal Poly had the game tied late in the first half. Then it was like a 22-2 run, and it was like, okay, that's it.
Kai, to you, Matt just won a best bet on Western Carolina this week. They battled with Chattanooga. Now they get Samford, who is off a loss, which concerns me a little bit. But I think Western Carolina is just immensely improved and getting 16 points in a conference game. I lean towards the Catamounts.
So do I. But again, Jim, I thought it was going to be higher. I thought it was going to be closer to 20. And I saw 16. I was like, what? I did not bet it. No. I leaned their way, of course.
I'm a coward. Jim, good for you. This Catamount team is not that bad. It's not a bad ball club, Timmy Kraft.
They're really bad. They're a really bad team.
They're bad. They're not that
bad. They haven't been as bad lately. They were like really extremely terrible, but they've kind of climbed back. It's just going to be kind of a higher possession game, which maybe makes the 16 a little scarier. And Samford off a loss, like I said, off a home loss. Matt, 7-1-2 winner specifically wanted your take on Boise at Nevada, a pick'em. Can the Broncos back up the big win they just had over New Mexico?
Easy stay away. I don't trust Nevada at all. They've lost all trust that I had. I had a lot of trust in this team to start the year. But yeah, tough spot. Boise off that huge Aztec win. To stay away. Sorry, nothing profound there.
I don't think Nevada beats the good teams in this conference. I think Boise gets the win. Kai in the A10. SLU, your hometown Billikens, hosting Rhode Island. +6.5 is what the Rams are getting on the road. Do you back the Billikens or the Rams?
Feels a touch high, Jim. If I had to choose sides here, probably towards Rhode Island. But I got nothing strong in this game. SLU's really been a disappointment to me all year.
Yeah, you can get 7 out there too in the market. I lean towards Rhode.
7,
Kai, right back to you. UNC Wilmington away from Trask. They're headed to Hampton, -5.5. Question from Job Gunderson here. Any thoughts for you on that game? Or are you staying away?
Stay away, man. Hampton's been a lot better this season. Credit to, gosh, I can't even think of the guy's
Mike
name.
Jones.
No, Hampton's coach.
Oh, no, Ivan Thomas.
Ivan
Thomas.
Yeah, right, he's done a great job. Great job this season.
Mini Cooley.
I'm staying away. Don't love Wilmington away from home as much as I do at Trask. And Hampton's been scrappy, so no play for me.
Yeah, Hampton just beat Hofstra by 18. They beat Drexel by 5. Team's pretty solid.
They're solid.
All right, SEC, gonna go right back to Kai. Matt Akers, Texas -2.5 at South Carolina. Boy, this South Carolina season feels like last year's Mizzou. They just get close and then lose every single game. I lean towards Texas, even though the Gamecocks have been feisty.
Yeah, I kind of lean South Carolina, to be honest.
Okay.
They're going to get a win eventually. I don't think they're going to go winless. They are a really good winless team, like top 80 still in the country. I think they can get
it's the Mizzou of 2024. It's a very solid
They're
winless
better than
team.
Mizzou was last year.
I actually agree with that, but still, it's a solid winless team and a very good conference.
Yeah.
I don't think they're like I think Mizzou was pretty good, except for like the 3 games Sean East got hurt and they got killed by 50 last year, and it kind of really hurt their advanced analytical rankings. But
yeah, the end of season picture makes Mizzou's look worse than last season. Mizzou was not that terrible last year.
Yeah. I also look. I'm not going to trust Rodney Terry and Trey Johnson, Traymon Marquez road favorites. So I do not have a big appetite for that. Shout out to Jordan Butler for South Carolina, who is now like 0-32 in the SEC.
Love that.
Matt, to you for an SEC game, Florida -10 at LSU. A question: do the Gators continue to roll?
I liked LSU. Some people in the market who are respected liked LSU got bet down from 10 to 9. I'm not touching this. Just don't trust LSU. I hate Matt McMahon. I
Oh,
remember Todd Golden and him were in the same cycle. I think Golden wants to stick it to Matt McMahon. I remember they were both competing for all the same jobs,
well, they
and Golden is like emphatically kind of like, I'm the guy, you're not the guy.
Todd Golden's first NCAA tournament game came up short in overtime against Matt McMahon and Murray
And the
State,
revenge
10
hanger as well.
Cisco.
Yep. Yep.
I think that's never going to leave his mind.
And he had the better
Uh,
team,
Hey,
missing his second best player in that game
he
too.
won in the end. Florida's a much better job than LSU.
He did.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Okay, Kai, another one from the Lord McD. Wake is now up to -4, getting steamed at NC State. Cameron Hildreth, question mark, but likely to go. I think that was what our good pal Jordan Majeski said in the Discord. But man, NC State's been pretty darn bad. Wake fighting for
So
tournament
bad.
life. What do you think?
NC State's been so bad. You're talking about teams giving up in the ACC. NC State falls in that category. Uh, I'm not laying points with Wake, though. I still don't trust this team. Why would I? No thanks. As Matt said, easy stay away. Maybe the easiest stay away of the day.
Yeah, I think Parker Friedrichsen had his good game last time out. I can't imagine he has two this year. We'll see.
There's a lot of
From
teams you don't trust in the ACC. A lot of untrustworthy teams in that conference.
Yep, yep. From Jets Pete, is 22 too many for Arkansas State to be laying against Monroe? I'm just going to say no. I think Arkansas State off a loss, getting frustrated by the South Alabama zone, now back home against a horrible Warhawks team. I could see this being a total boat racing, like a 40-point smash.
Jim, I've lost Monroe. I'm 0 of 1-6 this season betting on Monroe. I've bet on it 7 times. So if Monroe is pressured, they have no chance. So the teams that don't pressure, Monroe has a prayer to hang around. If you just pressure Monroe a little bit, they completely fold. That's the blueprint. That's the Monroe betting plan the rest of the year. When they play teams that pressure, they have no chance. That's it. There it is. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Kai, I have a
No
lead in
poker.
this one from John Mitchell. West Virginia at Texas Tech. Texas Tech laying 11. West Virginia as a dog, double digits, kind of appeals to me. And there's just the mini Texas Tech look ahead to the Houston rematch on Big Monday, 48 hours from now or 40 hours from the game. What do you think? Am I crazy?
No, I agree, Jim. I think West Virginia's a really hard team to blow out. And double digits, even against Texas Tech, I think that's a clear play. I'm actually looking, so they've lost 3 games by double digits, 4 this season, Big 12 play. Okay, not as much as I thought, or more than I thought, I'd say. Still leaning their way against T-Tech at 11.
Yep. Texas Tech is off the loss, so maybe get them a little more focused. The loss to TCU. Northwestern State at New Orleans from David Martell. Boy, New Orleans, we mentioned on our regular podcast, has been eliminated from even making the Southland tournament. So we're going to see if they have any pride here. Home dogs getting 7 to Northwestern State. I would lean towards the team that actually still has something to play for and is not under
Agreed.
investigated for point shaving. So lean towards Northwestern State. His other question, Matthew, is the other side of the Arkansas State coin. South Alabama, off the big win, they are playing Texas State. Let me get you a spread if my computer can catch up to
Yeah.
all the
2,
tab changing I'm doing here.
2.
2? Okay. What do
Yeah,
you
I look.
think?
I started this morning. Texas State took some money. I love USA. I just don't think it's a great spot to back them. And Texas State has talent when healthy, and they are healthier. It's just a who the hell knows who's going to play for Texas State situation. So I don't. This is an easy stay away in terms of the variance as well. 3-point shooting will have a huge factor on this game. Look at Arkansas State shooting splits, by the way, against South Carolina. Insane. Just so anyway, easy, as Kai would say, I say easy stay away.
John Hudak, Kai. Actually, right back to Matt. He's been a little bit of an Arlington guy recently, and Tarleton.
The
Arlington
Mavs.
laying 7 at home against Tarleton. Thoughts? We got a couple
Easier
more,
stay
so we'll
away.
wrap
It's
them
a team
quick.
that's more talented, but one I don't trust at all to handle pressure or make good decisions against full court havoc, as we've seen UTA in many games late under some game pressure fold. Tarleton State, the ultimate cockroach. It's a no, nothing for me here. Sorry.
Kai in the SEC, Mississippi State laying 4 on the road at Circling the Drain, Oklahoma. Can you back Oklahoma's home dog, or they continue to get smashed by the top of the SEC?
If they're going to win a game, this is it. You got to win this game. You got to compete if you're going to make the tournament. 4 points. I lean towards Porter Moser and Oklahoma getting it done. They could be done. They could be totally folded by now, but I still just really like Moser. I think he gets the boys up today. So I lean their way at 4.
Yeah, stubbornly think the Sooners don't completely roll over and die this season, but this is a tough one. Mississippi State's been playing very well the last
Very
two.
well.
Matt, I think the last one we got, and then you're going to have to give a guess for Indiana. Jay Rush asking about TCU at Cincinnati. The Bearcats laying a touchdown at home to a somewhat surging TCU team.
Without our boy, Jim, too, I believe Simas is questionable, or is he playing?
Questionable is the last I
Check.
saw. I'm not
Okay.
positive.
Point being, that's an important part to this handicap. I lean TCU. They just, man, I just sometimes they kind of fold against more of the bigger, more physical, athletic teams. But I don't trust Cincinnati's offense, even though it's been better, just to cover margin, especially against a well-coached TCU team. So yeah, a lot of conflicting factors here. Nothing for me. Sorry.
Okay. I believe that is it. Let's hit best bets. I'll give a quick recap of mine. I will have five. These would have been my five for the circuit contest. We'll find out if I would have just gone 0-5 anyways. Iowa State and Houston under 130. George Mason plus 11. St. Mary's and Gonzaga under 142. Then I'm going to add two more. VMI plus 12. I think they're a very feisty underdog. I wrote them last week in the circuit contest. I like the buy low on them after they just lost by 40. I don't think Furman has much home playing in that other arena in Greenville. And Furman just beat Samford on the road. I think there's a little bit of a letdown coming there in effort. So plus 12 for the Keydets. And then Stony and North Carolina A&T under 135. This game is 12 points below the KenPom total. It's kind of an eye-popping thing, but it's because A&T has been playing really slow and really good defense without their two best scorers. They only have six players, so they grind it out, and Stoney plays really slow. So I think a low possession game under 135. That is my five. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Yeah, and Sony plays some zone too. I don't know how. Yeah, if NCAA scores 50, I'll be stunned. I got to George Mason. We talked about that, Jim. Let's go. And I like Tiny Rock. Shouts to Tiny. I think one of the most bet teams in the history of the 3 best program.
Yes,
Probably
that's probably true.
on the red side of the ledger historically. However, I think they're playing a team that I watched play against SEMO on Thursday. Western Illinois is no longer in contention to make the OVC tournament, so their season is done. And I watched that team play like a team that has given up. I don't think I saw anyone on the staff coaching stand up one time during either half. Like there was zero initiative to coach the team. SEMO ran them out. I think Little Rock, even more talented team, if they could just not suck at offense, I think they killed this team today. So Little Rock's my other second one.
Matt, who's getting hired at IU? Just give me a name.
I'm with Mr. Goodman. I think Mr. Otzelberger should get a phone call. I think he'd consider it. I think he'd be a great fit. Have resources and talent he's never had at Iowa State. He's got pretty good talent there too.
I'd be surprised if he takes that job.
Kai's best bets.
Sam Houston plus 4.5 is one of my best bets. I love the Bearcats the way they're playing right now. Three straight wins against three of the best teams in the league. Game one between these two was a 2-point game, close one. Bearcats with a K plus 4.5. And also Abilene Christian -7 against Utah Tech. Game one, they crushed them, forced 19 turnovers. Tech's been playing some pretty good teams close lately, impressive, off an OT loss to Utah Valley, but Abilene's also been rolling the last 3 to 4 games. I expect a lot of turnovers. I expect Utah State to get run off the line. That's what Brett Tanner does. And I expect Abilene Christian to get to the free throw line a lot. Game one, 21 for 25 from the stripe. That's an advantage. Abilene -7 against Utah Tech.
Boom. There you have it. Kai, you're the host.
I am the host, and I'm saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Thank you
All
for joining us on the Best Bet Show today. We're back next week for a podcast on Friday at 7 a.m. Central if you want to catch us live. Otherwise, it'll be on your iTunes and Spotify's, whatever have you. And, of course, we're back for another Best Bet Show on March 1st. You're darn right. March is here next weekend. Best Bet Show next week, 10 a.m. Central on Saturday. Good luck with your bets. Enjoy college basketball. Cheers.